Welcome back to One Sharp Sword, cutting through to what matters most. I'm your host, Dr. Wayne Pernell, the exponential success coach. And today we have an exceptionally special guest. This is a woman who, um, she's amazing. I've worked with her for a decade, maybe more at this point. Serial entrepreneur, runs an amazing dental practice, has also followed her passion, her heart, become a wellness expert in so many areas. And today we're going to talk about bliss, not burnout, and the journey to get there. So, welcome, Dr. Roberta Garceau. So glad to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I am delighted and excited to talk about bliss and just really the whole journey, how I got here, how we got here together,
Yes.
and how your guidance and coaching helped along the way.
Awesome. Thank you. It's great. What a journey it's been. So let's back up the clock. Even before you began the idea of I'm going to run a dental practice, even before you began, which and that preceded the idea of I really want to study and become certified as a yogi, as a yoga instructor, and take health and wellness into the world. Um, what prompted you even to get into dentistry? Because that's running a small business. It's not just dentistry, it's you own a business, right? So what prompted you to like what was the itch?
The itch. Well, you did not warn me that we were going that far back. And
Welcome.
I don't know if we've even talked about this in the past. So truly, I was always interested in overcoming obstacles. Even in middle school, I would read books. I was an avid reader, and I would read books about people who overcame adversity, injuries, illnesses, things like that. And so when I was 17, I was in a bike versus van accident, and I was the cyclist. And I had a minor, or back in the day, I don't know, but enough to put me in the ICU for a week. I had a traumatic brain injury, and I didn't die. And that was the first time in my life that I realized, all right, this could have gone so many different directions. And I am here on this earth for a reason. God, my higher power, whatever you choose to call it in your life and in your belief system, kept me alive and allowed me to heal. And ironically, the thing that I was the most afraid of, I couldn't even read anymore due to my injury. And here I was at the end of my junior year of high school, looking at colleges and trying to get scholarships, and I couldn't read. The thing I was the most afraid of was not being able to sing and use my voice. And fortunately, I'm so blessed that I had an amazing recovery and certainly went on to college and professional school and beyond and beyond. So I would say it wasn't an itch, it was a bang, right? That
Literally. Yeah.
literally fractured my skull,
Ouch.
and that caused me to want to go out and make a bigger difference in the world. I believe that we're all alive for a reason. And personally, I believe that I'm here to make a bigger difference in the world, to make an impact, to make it a better place for me having been here. And to make my three words, as you know, are intentional, present, and positively impactful.
Nice. Yes.
My intention is to be present and make a positive difference.
It's great. When I work with leaders like you, I do invite my leaders to choose three words to live into, and they become kind of the guiding values along the way. One of the things that I like to do on this podcast particularly is to weave major themes through that people who may not be leaders by role, or title, but maybe leaders because people are watching them, to make the themes match. And this certainly does. Who hasn't overcome adversity or been faced with adversity? And who doesn't ache to live into their purpose? For you, a bike accident allowed you to wake up to purpose, which is, it's kind of special. It's really special. Um, and you've done it in a big way, and you've done it, it wasn't instant. I mean, you woke up to purpose, but living into it was really, it's been quite a journey.
It has.
You and I met when I was doing small business consulting, practice consulting for you and your dental practice. And since then, you became a VIP client of mine doing one-to-one coaching with me. And your journey has been pretty amazing. Talk a little bit about what that meant for you, like how you grew in your practice. And then when we started doing one-to-one coaching, you how you woke up to and actually became courageous enough. And I underscore that you became courageous enough to live into a bigger purpose.
Hmm. So I think I would even roll it back to your previous question. Like, yes, I had that accident, and no one is fully formed at 17 years old, right?
Right.
So from there, I knew I wanted to make a bigger difference, and I thought perhaps I would go into mental health. And I feel like I've gone full circle with that because then I went to college, and for different reasons, I thought I would either go to medical school or dental school. And I ended up choosing dentistry. It's been a great fit for me because it's medicine and it's art and it's a ton of that psychology and mental health, right? All wrapped in one.
It's all those three things.
All of those things. And I'm also a very independent spirit. And so I knew I wanted to be my own boss and my own leader of my own destiny. And that really worked for me personally throughout growing my family and really being able to have more control over how quickly I grew and in what directions and what types of dentistry I practice. Um, Over time, I actually was concerned about maintaining the health of my back because I come from a large family. I'm the youngest of my siblings, and all my siblings seem to have problems with their backs, pretty significant issues. So I'm thinking, as a young dentist in my late 20s, early 30s, let me be proactive. And my idea was if I strengthen my core, it will help to protect my back in this profession that I've chosen where I'm constantly leaning over people and getting into really contorted, different positions. And so, many years ago, I dabbled in yoga. I took a weekend introduction to yoga, wellness weekend, and I liked it and it was great. And I kind of dabbled over time. But as I was growing my dental practice and as I was beginning my family and having small children, the demands on my time were just incredible. And so I found that I wasn't getting to classes. I just didn't seem to be able to fit it into my life. So I did, at the time, classes over and over in my basement on a DVD. That's telling you about what time that was. It wasn't
Right.
quite VHS, but it was
Right.
DVD. And so I told myself, well, I'm going to get tired of this DVD in a month or two. God bless until the animals broke it. I used that same DVD over and over and over again. And one day in the dark of my basement, in the morning, before the kids got up, before I went about my busy day and got going to the office, I was like, wow, that was just the best massage I've ever had in my life. And I just gave it to myself. Like, how
Mm.
empowering is that? So I began to appreciate the physical benefits of the practice of yoga. And over time, I realized, I'm feeling more calm or more regulated or more in control or more self-aware. uh,
All of those things, right?
all of those things. Yes, I was
That's
like, wait a minute, those aren't ors. It was ands. It
it
was
sure
all of those
was. Yeah.
things. And there's something to this woo-hoo thing, this hippie thing about yoga. And so I did a little bit in my office. I had a hygienist at the time who said, you should make some yoga videos and put them on YouTube. And I'm like, but I'm not a yoga teacher. And she said, it's YouTube. You don't have to be. We
Right.
won't, we won't comment on that. But she's like, you're really good at this. You should become a yoga teacher. And I'm like, oh, yeah, right. I have school-age children now at this point. I have a practice to run. How am I going to take off the time to become a yoga teacher? And but
Yeah.
my story is it was a calling, like being called to be a nun or anything else in life. And I found a way. I found a way to go to the Kripalu school, which is some people call it the Yale of Yoda school. Yoda. That's a different topic. The Yale of yoga schools. And I did a 2 by 12 where you take 2 weeks at a time and get your certification. And over time, I've got over 800 hours of yoga and Ayurveda instructor training under my belt now, just doing it in pieces. It's transformed my personal well-being and health. It's transformed the way that I deliver dental care. It's transformed the way that I interact with people in my life and with the world. Truly, the way that I view the world has changed over time. So incredibly, incredibly powerful. And so you used the word courage. Uh, you know, there was a time when I had an amazing week. It was 2019. Within,
Wait, you're going back in time and going, there was this one week that was amazing.
yeah, well, and you will hear why.
Okay.
Within the span of 1 week, I had my first colonoscopy without anesthesia because
Amazing. Oh,
I have personal reasons that I choose not to have that.
sure.
Um, it went well, and that was empowering. I jumped out of an airplane for the first time in my life.
Mhm.
Well, that was a first and only so far, but I'm not one and done. I will do it again if it calls me again. I was terrified, and the only reason I did it was because my 18-year-old daughter was doing it with her godfather, my brother, and otherwise I would not have done it. My brother had been asking me for 20 years to jump with him. And so I did that and I loved it. I survived because I was deathly afraid. And then the third thing I did that week was I appeared for the first of a dozen times on live television. And
Yes.
there's no edits, there's no do-overs. Like we're all pretty familiar with Zoom and social media and a lot of things that are produced. But on live television, if you mess up, everybody sees it.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about courage, we've got to go out of our comfort zones. And the more you do that, that week, I was like, wow, every time I'm outside of my comfort zone, and each of those was pretty far out of my comfort zone. I had never done any of those things. And quite frankly, I was pretty terrified of each of those things. But each time that I went outside that comfort zone to grow and expand, and I didn't spontaneously implode, right? Or spontaneously combust, it was so empowering and built momentum for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So courage for me has not been that thing that it's like, okay, I've got this all lined up, all up to a T. It's perfect. I'm ready. I am so ready. Mm. Never 100% ready. Courage is being
Huge.
afraid and being brave enough to jump in anyway. Being ready enough. It doesn't mean being reckless and careless, right? I believe you have a saying,
I do.
risk wisely.
With risk well.
Risk
Yes,
well. Okay.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've touched on a bunch of things, and I want to come back and weave them together because I think they're huge. I was taking notes, so I'm going to look down as I talk to you. You talked about dabbling, right? That yoga was there was something to it. You sort of knew there was more for you. And then you said it was just really hard. You couldn't fit it into your life. And I think One of the things, as you know, one of the things that I teach is listen to the whispers. Like those whispers come from deep within you and they call you, they pull you, and that's so different than the shoulds and supposed tos where you feel pushed. Go this way, you should do that. No, it's like I must do this. Like I have to pursue this thing. And so though you couldn't fit it into your life, you found a way of doing it. And I'm allergic. You didn't use this word. I'm allergic to the word realistic. So many people would have stopped at, well, it's not realistic to take time off. It's not realistic to go for another certification. It's not, it's like it doesn't have to be realistic. It has to be what pulls you. And I really think that was amazing. And in our work together, right, the whole idea of courage in our work together, you're a dentist. And if someone or you, right, you're a dentist, you have a dental practice. For any small business owner, if that pull, that desire uh came face to face with, and you have to take 3 months off in order to get the certification to really pursue it. 3 months, like, right? That's 12 weeks is 3 months, and it took you 12 weeks. You and
Hmm.
I worked on in your business and on your business, you and I worked on that together so that it could be done in here's a 2 week segment. Here's a 2 week segment. And I think that's really important too, because incremental pieces lead you to that exponential leap, that exponential success that happens. It happens when you've done the preparation and when you've reached a certain level. And then in talking about, I want to come back to this too, in talking about the courage piece and jumping out of an airplane and going on live TV. Um,
You're not impressed with the colonoscopy?
well, there's that the no anesthesia colonoscopy. Okay, that is something. Hey, by the way, I noticed the cup that you were holding up. That was
Yeah. It's my very thirsty cup.
that's all. It's a nice cup. Um, Here's what you said. You talked about being ready, and the truth is, right, you must step out of your comfort zone. No one's ready per se, and I love the term you used, which is ready enough. I think that is something that anyone who's watching this or listening to this can take with them. That it's
Yeah.
like, I don't feel ready to do this big thing. It's like, well, are you ready enough to do the best next step for this big thing? And
Mm.
it's a series of best next steps. And that's been a key piece of our work together, right? I mean, you became a number one best-selling author.
I
Uh,
did. I did a This Beauty right here. Woohoo!
yeah,
Not
Bliss, not
burnout.
burnout.
I
Exactly.
happen to have my original copy. It does not have the emblazon for the number one bestseller, but this is it.
That's so great. So that's not right. So if you have this calling of, and I want to put my words and my work and my being, my essence out there because I want to lift others. You don't just wake up one day and go, I'm writing a best-selling book. You wake up one day and go, I really want to get this out there. And again, it goes back to what's the best next step? Yes, you have goals in mind. Yes, it'd be great to get there. What's the best next step from where I am? So that's part of your process that I really appreciate, that you had the courage to take the next best step and the next best step, right? Um, so here you are now. You have a successful practice and you are teaching wellness in the healthcare workspace and beyond. Bliss Not Burnout has become a number one best-selling book, making you a number one best-selling author. And there's a lot to that, right? So talk a little bit about what your ready enough process was, and maybe that reflects on the work that you and I did around clarity and around courage. Um, maybe, I don't know. You'll talk a little bit about that, and then talk certainly about the work that you're doing in bringing the message of bliss, not burnout, to the world.
Uh, so yes, the next best steps or the best next steps, either way you look at that, I knew I wanted to get what I've learned, both the medical experience, the yogic and Ayurvedic experience, more that traditional wisdom, and my life experiences. Because, you know, we learn and grow from our experiences, or hopefully we grow from them. And I'm a big believer that is part of my book is that everything that could be seen as adversity, or you might color it as being negative or bad, those are the growing opportunities. Though that's where possibility lies. And so going back to my traumatic brain injury, I I knew, okay, I need to take an inventory here. What's really important? Even at the ripe young age of 17, what have I been chasing? And if I didn't survive this accident, what would have mattered? What's truly important? And I've been blessed to have a couple more incidents like that in my life. And it's like, why? I think I've learned. I think I've learned already. But we keep learning, hopefully, right? That is the point of being alive.
You know you are bigger than the life you are leading. It really is time to attend to that thing you've wanted to do or have, but you've been putting off. It's time to step into that dream you've parked for someday. It's time to claim true well-being, both personally and professionally, without giving up the success that got you here. It's time to check out Dr. Pernell's signature small group retreat, the Exponential Success Summit. Explore exponentialsuccesssummit.com. Seats are extremely limited as this is a very special small group event. www.exponentialsuccesssummit.com.
Let me jump in real fast. The growth and possibility lies in adversity. And sometimes when I'm talking with people, they're like, yeah, I don't need another challenge. I don't need more adversity. And even for you, why? Like, I've learned. And it's like, yes, and that's your growth edge. Like, you've learned, and that's what got you to be here. Isn't that amazing? Like, you were as old as you've ever been. Amazing. You survived somehow based on a series of strengths that you skill stacked to get here, and there's more growth. And so it's really important to have that kind of framing, that mind state that you step into and you go, awesome. This is opportunity. Somehow I'm going to find that I'm going to find that opportunity. I don't know what it is. And for you, you had the clarity of falling back to purpose and asking the right questions of yourself. A lot of people would be in the place of, this is being done to me, I'm being punished for something, and it's really about how they frame it. You
Mhm.
framed it as, well, I still have this passion inside of me that has to, like, I need to express this. What's the challenge that I need to get over? So amazing work. Like, I'm applauding you and your journey. And hopefully that's something that's relatable. I believe it is, that each of us faces adversity. And sometimes it's ongoing. Sometimes it feels like, I just did this, and can I be done with this thing? And it's like, if you're repeating whatever it is, no, you're not done. There's something you're missing. And that's where an outside perspective can come in. It's also where, when you're working with yourself, you can say, what am I missing? Right? What about this situation am I missing?
Exactly, exactly. And that's really what it boils down to, that these challenges are opportunities. And it's just a matter of looking at, what am I supposed to be learning here? How am I supposed to grow? What am I supposed to get from this? Because I refuse to believe otherwise. Do I get down? Of course. Have I had a pity party? I think that's human. And I don't want to live there. It's not helping me. It's not where I want to be. So, pity party, what have you. And then what's next? What's the next best step, right? Um, where, what am I missing? And sometimes it'll be like, you know, it's
It's an
that.
awakening of, oh, it's been here the whole time. Oh,
Hmm.
that,
Yeah.
that. Okay, I'll go there. Yeah.
And other times it might take a little longer to come. And I'm wholeheartedly 100% believe that there is always a lesson. We just have to be open to it. We have to look for it, or we have to sometimes just say, all right, I'm not sure what the lesson is, and I trust that there is one. And I'm going to sit in this, and I'm going to make my next best step, and it will come to me. I trust the world. I trust the universe. I trust myself that
Huge.
I have the confidence that I'm going to figure this out and figure out what is the growth opportunity, what is the learning lesson.
That's
So,
so huge. That's like if those of you watching, listening can take that with you to trust yourself that there is something more, there is something bigger, and that sometimes you just have to sit in it without doing in order to get the, oh, there's something left to learn. The other part of that is to embrace that, right? I know I don't know it all. How cool is that? Right? You get to a place of
phew.
yeah, right?
I don't have to know it all. That's wonderful.
Right? That's so good as you progress. And I think that's one of the things, we start out and we believe, our parents know everything and they're the ultimate authority or something along those lines. And then you're like, they know nothing and I'm the smartest one in the world. And then you get to a place of, oh, oh, this human thing. It's like, there's growth every step of the way. Okay. All right.
Mhm.
So who am I becoming? Talk, and I don't want to just throw away that line either. Let me, before I ask you to talk about your book, I want to underscore who am I becoming, right? That's such an important concept, right? The values you had 20 years ago are not the values that you're living now necessarily, and certainly what you want and where you're going will require you to grow and take on different values, which means letting go of some of the things that you have in your life right now. So, for you getting on TV, for you writing a book, for you turning that book into a number one bestseller, those were all pieces that you got to live into and expand yourself as a good human in the world.
Yes. And so, how did it get to that point,
How
right?
to get to that point, and then talk a little bit about the book as well. What some of the key lessons that come from it. Uh,
Right.
yeah,
So the book itself, in all transparency, because I'm a pretty transparent person for those
hold it
who,
up again just for fun.
oh, all right. Okay. If I must. Yes. It's this beauty here. Bliss, not burnout. It says the subtitle is Hope for Healthcare Providers. And the skinny on that is I did interview and survey hundreds of healthcare providers across the nation in
Mm,
all different work roles and job titles. And right in the beginning of the book, I state it's not just for people who have chosen healthcare as their work life or as their work profession. It is for any of us who have ever been in the role of caring for a parent, a partner, a child, a friend. That's pretty much all of us at one point in time because the challenges and the dynamics that the challenge of being the caregiver and giving and giving and giving and how to balance taking care of yourself within that process. That is what the essence of the book is all about. And so the one takeaway message is that self-awareness is key. And so many of us are so busy running around from one thing to the next. Like, who hasn't had the unfortunate and frightening experience of driving someplace, driving home from the grocery or from work or driving to work, and you get there and you say, how did I get here? I don't 100% remember taking all the turns and really being mindful of what was going on. Like we just float around in a dream. And this term disembodied, like so much of the time we're spending our modern life being disembodied. We're looking at billboard messages and notifications and media and marketing and just all of the demands on our time and our energy and our intellect. And it gets back down to like we're walking around as kind of like living zombies, right? We're really not in our own bodies. And so the call in Bliss Not Burnout is to first get back to awareness, self-awareness. And so I give some basic tools, again, marrying my passions for Western medicine or modern medicine with traditional wisdom of yoga and Ayurveda, which is Indian medicine from thousands of years ago. And then I also have a specialty in dental sleep medicine or sleep medicine in general. And so that whole breathing and circadian rhythms and the importance of quality sleep, it all comes together as one big wellness nut that I call elemental wellness. And, that is where it all starts. It starts from having that awareness through the elements, through elemental wellness, through all of those modalities. And from there, you can take better care of yourself. Because how can one
Amazing.
possibly take care of oneself if we're disembodied and running around with a chicken, like a chicken with their head cut off, and you're not even aware of what's going on? So sometimes it's just stopping to be like, hmm, well, how is my breath right now? Like, oh,
Mhm.
am I breathing? You know, oh, my ribs or my belly are tight. I realize I'm not really taking a complete breath. Or, my shoulders are up by my ears, or yeah, my jaw's pretty tense and tight. What's going on? It's like, okay, let's just like relax a little bit, right? Let's see what's going on. And then from there, what do I need right now? Is it a drink of water? Am I getting a little thirsty from talking?
That's
Mm.
awesome.
Do I need a nap? Do I need to run around and energize myself? Do you need,
Yes to all of those things. Yes to
yeah.
all. Awesome.
That's why I couldn't take this call any sooner.
That's I want to ask you
Um,
something before you go on. Let me ask you something. I want to tie what you're saying to one of the concepts in my first book, Choosing Your Power. I talk about spiraling toward freedom. That sometimes when we go around, we come back, it feels like we're going in circles. And the truth is that you talked about awareness, self-awareness. When you're aware of that tightness, you have a choice. And so in the last chapter of Choosing Your Power, I talk about awareness leads to choice, and choice leads to greater awareness. Like, oh, I have tightness in my jaw. I get to choose what to do about that, not just fight it, but now I have a choice. I'm aware of it. And I think that's really important as we live our lives that you step into this place of self-awareness. I want to ask you, you tied self-awareness with the concept of being mindful. They can be different though, right? Mindfulness and self-awareness. Talk a little bit about, are they different? Are they the same? Do you use them
they're
as the
they're
same?
related.
Yeah.
They're related to cousins. So
There are
I would,
overlap. Certainly there's overlap.
yes. So I would say mindfulness is being aware in the present moment, right? That's my definition of mindfulness, and it's kind of a pretty accepted definition. Mindfulness is being aware in the present moment. And in order to be self-aware, you need to be mindful of yourself, right? You need to be aware of yourself in the present moment, physically, mentally, energetically. So those definitely do overlap. And I love how you talk about spiraling to freedom and, how we were talking earlier about how, I think I've learned the lessons. Why am I being smacked again or over and over? Why do these waves keep smacking me in the face? Because there is more to learn, as you
Mhm.
said. And it's like, okay, I've learned and I've grown to hear, and darn it, the universe is whacking me again, saying, yes, you've grown and you're going to level up again. Here's a new opportunity to level up. And what are you going to do with it?
And the good news is you actually don't need to be smacked to have that awareness or desire. Like you've been with me and doing private coaching with me for a
A
very
long time.
long time. And there's a reason that you're on your journey and have chosen me as your guide and coach along this journey. And it's not that, wow, you know what? I just keep getting hit in the face with stuff. It's more like, wow, I'm awakening to this passion that's even bigger. I'm awakening to this purpose that's even bigger. There's more of me I want to express. And so it's not always the why do I like what's the next lesson? Why do I keep getting this? It's not always that. And so for, for, again, for our audience, as you're listening to this, as you're watching it, really take an inventory about where are you being called? Where are you being pulled? Like, what is that thing that you put aside for someday that you are like, you know what? I'm ready enough. I love that term. I'm ready enough to take my best next step to at least peek at it again and
Mm.
allow that growth to unfold for you. That's been a big part of your journey, I think, right?
Is allowing to,
To allow the next thing to unfold right in front of you and to
yeah,
kind of that's part of the mindfulness like oh I'm aware of my purpose just actually expanded and
yeah.
my best next step is it's a little confusing and I'm willing to peek at it in order to be bigger and express myself more fully in the world.
Yes. And so when we were just speaking about mindfulness and self-awareness, that also spirals up and out.
Yes.
So the more we practice mindfulness, the more mindful we become. And the more we practice touching base and tuning in and just checking in with yourself, checking in with self-awareness, the greater your self-awareness becomes. And so you're absolutely right. And I'm glad you made that distinction. It's not always a wave smacking you. Sometimes it's just like, oh, this comes to me. For me, a lot of my insights and my intuition comes when I'm moving in nature. So
Yeah.
I might be out in the wintertime cross country skiing, or I may be out for a hike or something in nature. Really, nature is wonderful for all different types. It's really wonderful for everybody, even if you don't think you're a nature buff. Just look out the window or look up at the sky, something. You don't have to move a whole great deal. Just breathe in nature. And it's the grounding and the spaciousness that allows you to be calm and centered and opens up your creative mind at the same time. So it's a really wonderful thing. With the book, that started, I started and stopped 3 times writing this book, right, over time. And it started out as something that I was going to take really little writings and be multiple short chapters, almost like a poetry book, where there would be little bits of inspirations or insights or enlightenment and motivational things. And then I set that aside. And it's interesting because as I grew and as I spiraled and as my skill set increased, the book changed. And it got to the point where I was like, yeah, now it's going to include yoga classes. Okay. And not just pictures of yoga classes and descriptions of yoga classes, it's also going to have a video. It was really important to me that there would be video links where you could take a class with me, recorded live, and experience that together, whether people choose to or not. It just was super important. Like I just knew that had to be part of the book. And if I didn't publish that way, it wasn't going to be complete. It wasn't going to be what I was called to do. And what ended up happening, like that was the thing that really slowed me down in the end. I had the writing done about 90%, and then I had to figure out the classes and the recording and the still photos and all of that. And it was worth every minute. And the content changed over time, right? So maybe even though I started and stopped a few times, I could look at that as, well, failure or lack of discipline or lack of focus or something. Or if I had told somebody the first time that I was starting to write a book and then they asked, hey, how's that book going? And I'd be like, well, yeah, I really haven't worked on it lately. Is that a failure? No. It came out when it was supposed to come out. And the yoga classes came out the way that they were because I had learned more by that time. And, maybe in a couple of years from now, my learning will be different and I'll want to have something different and there may be another book, So,
Let's hope so.
hmm.
What's unique about your book is exactly what you just described. That usually people will read a book and it's like, that's interesting. And some people will do a challenge, like, I'm going to read this book in a weekend and whip through it. And your book is more of a journey in itself.
Hmm.
Here's this concept, here's how you embody it, here's what it might look like for you. Oh, by the way, here's a class where you can really experience it and you're in it. And it's a choice, right? You could read the book, you get a lot out of it. You read the book, you take the class, you get a lot more out of it. And for you on your developing story, quest, life, journey, you will definitely, there's another book in there. I know that at least one more,
At least
uh,
one more.
probably two or three. And of course it's going to be different. You're different. So you can't ever write the same book again. You're different. There's core concepts like core values that you will continue to believe in and express, and nuance, I think, is part of what this journey of life is about as well. What I want to ask you two questions, and they're very different questions, and so I'll cue it up for you in this way, and you can just take it as you wish. I want you to talk more about the book, like what are some of the core concepts? Like if you were meeting somebody and had to say, look, here's this book, it's gonna really open up your life, and these are the top three things I really want you to get out of it. Bliss, not burnout. I really want you to get this and this and this out of it. What are the top three things? And then I would love for you to reflect a little bit about your journey with me as your coach. What has that meant to you? How has that, how has your life changed along the way? What do you think were some of the key points in your growth and development? Because look, you could just get by. You could do what you're doing, right? We all are at a place where it's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm fine. And the good news is you and I both know that fine is sort of a state of dis-ease. It's like survival is dis-ease. It's not thriving. It's getting by is not thriving. And we as as part of nature, we're meant to thrive, not just get by, right? The little oak sapling doesn't go, oh, there's no sun, so I'll just shrivel up. It's like, no, there's no sun. Let me bend and find the sun and grow into this giant thing. So you have grown and moved and expanded and expressed, and that this is just it's a thrill to watch you do this and be a part of that. So those two questions, the book, your journey,
All
go.
right. So the book, the book again, Bliss Not Burnout. Again, here are the color photos. So there is
Nice,
that.
nice.
So the three, gosh, to distill it down to three things, I'm not even
I
sure.
know it's unfair. It's an
You
unfair
didn't prep me for
request.
that.
No, I didn't. It's an unfair request, and
And
yet
I'll meet it. I'm ready enough.
awesome.
Yes.
Very good.
So the things we'll start with one. One thing that I'd love for everyone to get out of here is the concept of elemental wellness. So I talked about that earlier. I do talk about that in the book, and it brings, I call it elemental wellness because it draws on the ancient tradition of Ayurveda, and that sees everything in the world as made up of the five great elements, which I talk about in the book. Seeing yourself, your self-awareness through the elements. And when you read Bliss Not Burnout, you'll see how you can use that awareness. It makes it really super simple. And it puts you in the seat of the observer, right? In order to be aware, You have to observe. In order to be aware, you need to sit like a witness on the movie screen of your own life to be like, oh, that's what's going on. I see, I get it now. That's what I'm doing, or that's what's happening, or oh, I'm starting to feel this. That's what's
In,
happening for me.
in Gestalt psychology, the concept of actor observer
Hmm.
is part of that. And that's what I believe you're describing is, yes, be in your life. Don't just disembody yourself and watch yourself. Be in your life, watch yourself in your life. So be both actor and observer.
Sure. And that yes, it's Gestalt and it's way older than
It's
that.
way older than that. True. Yes.
It's
Yes.
very yogic. So yeah, but that is a good point because I'm not inviting you now to be disembodied. I'm inviting you to become more embodied by observing yourself
Mhm.
through the art and the act of observing and being aware. So to out of the book, if you can learn, just appreciate a little bit about elemental wellness and how you can use that to see yourself and the world and the tools that come from that, really super simple. It's all about balancing yin and yang. That's the first thing. Second thing is self-awareness that we talked about earlier. Elemental wellness is a tool for self-awareness, and the book is full of all sorts of exercises, tools, and strategies. My hope, so this is the third thing, my hope is that, anyone can benefit from this book, and everyone could benefit from this book. My hope is that you just be open to whatever you get out of it. It could be that you're already familiar with a lot of this material and it's not a big learn, but it's maybe a different way of hearing the material. It could be that you're like, oh, I love that little meditation she talked about. I can do that at work while I go to the bathroom. How cool is that? Nobody even needs to know that I'm practicing mindfulness or a breathing technique or a meditation. Isn't that cool? So there's a lot of little free practical tips and tools. And so it's just like, hey, here's the poo-poo platter. If any of them is meaningful, or just try them out, just try them out. You've got nothing to lose. And so that's the other offering there. So elemental
Right.
wellness, self-awareness, and lots of tools to just try out that are free and easy. Yeah.
Amazing. It's
And
great.
as far as my journey with you, oh my gosh, it's been amazing. Why am I still with you? Haven't I figured it out? Again, we keep spiraling and leveling up, and we're all well aware that the highest performers, whether those are athletes, Olympic athletes, professional athletes, speakers, musicians, they've all got coaches, mentors, teachers who help them to continue to evolve and grow and be their best self. And so with our work together, Wayne, it's hard to put into words. It's hard to pinpoint. And one thing I can say for sure is that you've helped me to think bigger, and not like you have to continue to just be bigger and busier, right? We've talked about that. It's not that I want to be busier, to think about what really matters to me and how that changes, right? I'm in a different season of my life than I was when I started out my dental practice. And so the things I want and the things that are important have shifted a bit. And, you know, how do I want to choose differently going forward in order to meet those needs and those desires? Um, I would never have gotten on live television without your assistance and your coaching. I wouldn't have birthed this book. There's plenty of people who write books, right? Not many people get them into print and then go on to promote them and share them with the world through podcasting and teaching at different levels. I teach physician assistants. I'm teaching the California Dental Association. I'm teaching out in the community, study clubs and other groups. I'm going to a speaker author group. It's just amazing. And so, really going outside of that shell. Being a dentist would have been good enough, would certainly have been good enough. No one would expect me to do anything different. And I wanted more. I wanted different. And you're not just anything. You have been a super support in helping to ask the right questions that help me to grow and be my truest and best self. So thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you for being here. This is yeah, and the journey's not done, right?
No.
It's That's so exciting. It is an honor and a pleasure to have you here. And how might people find you? You're on LinkedIn, Elemental Wellness is out there. What's the best way for people to find you?
So the best way to get my contacts and my book is to go on Amazon. Just search up Bliss Not Burnout. Outside of that, you can go to my author page, Dr. Roberta Garceau. No punctuation or capitalization, just drrobertagarceau.com. That's my author page. Elemental-wellness.com is another wellness page. And certainly, yes, Roberta Garceau on LinkedIn. My Yoga Joy is a bunch of weekly inspirations, breathing, stretching, and other short little healthy wellness tips that you can get on Facebook and Instagram. So lots of ways to connect with me, and I'd love to hear from you. And as well as you can, through those ways, you can sign up for my bi-monthly, is that the right thing? Twice a month?
Either
Bi-monthly? I
it's
screw that up all the time. It comes out twice,
semi semi-monthly. It's like
semi-monthly. That's the
yes.
one.
Mhm. It's bi-weekly or semi-monthly.
Okay, that one. 2 times a month, like I just said.
Twice a month. Exactly.
You can sign up for my newsletter, which will give you all the happenings, where I'm teaching, how you might hear me on a podcast or catch me at a mastermind retreat that will be upcoming throughout the next months and years. So I look
And
forward to interacting with you.
yeah, that's awesome. You might have gathered that Dr. Garceau does not do spammy stuff, so you will get exactly what she says. As you're listening to this, it's Dr. Roberta, Roberta, Garceau, Garceau. And I wanted to make sure that people knew exactly how to find you. This
Thank
is
you.
great. Is there anything as we wind this up? Is there anything that I didn't ask? I mean, we could probably go on and on and on and on. Anything that I didn't ask or that you wanted to share that we haven't covered yet?
I think we covered so much, and it's been a delight. And I just truly wish for others to live life with a bit more joy, a bit more wellness, and a bit more bliss.
Beautiful. Excellent. And you talked about what matters, right? So with that, I will conclude. Dr. Roberta Garceau, thank you for joining me. This has been amazing. And this is One Sharp Sword, cutting through to what? Cutting through to what matters most. I'm Dr. Wayne Pernell, your host, guide, and coach on this journey. It's a pleasure. We'll see you here again next time.